Welcome to another extended interpretation of one of the 52 playing cards. And today we have a very special candidate here, and that is the Seven of Clubs. Why is that a special candidate? It's a special candidate because it's my moon card and because it's also one of my brother's birth card. And I'll tell you how that shows up in real life. The Seven of Clubs is the card of mental, spiritual knowledge. The Seven of Clubs is the card of spiritual seven knowledge clubs. So here's a card that has as its core theme in life to turn within, connect to spirit, to the spiritual realm, to the unseen, to the potential, and gather from it the knowledge it needs to go through life. Remember, the Seven of Clubs is the Uranus card on the Saturn line. So Saturn, once again, exerting pressure on the individual, because Saturn asks you to be strict and reliable and dependable. That's not easy for a seven, and not easy for a Seven of Clubs to begin with. Why? Uranus likes to stir things up. Uranus likes to buck the trend. Uranus likes to do things differently. And the life, or my brother's life, is testament to that energy. Doing things differently. Having a very strong mind, studying law, but not finishing it, Uranus. Not going out and finding a job like most other people do, but making his own life choices, deciding against that, and leading a completely different life. Not an easy one, as it's turned out, because it challenged him and it compromised him in different ways. But here is a card that should connect to spirit to obtain knowledge in order to live a balanced life, because the Moon card is the Nine of Hearts, so there are emotional frustrations and disappointments. Their Mercury card is a Five of Diamonds. We'll get to that in a second, which means change in mind, change in values. Five is changing values. Five of Diamonds is changing values. Fluctuations, vacillating, not stable. That's not exactly a card you would like to have as your Mercury card. Well, actually, sort of, there we are. While we're at it, let's jump right into the Mercury card, but let's have a look at the notes, where the Seven of Clubs carries a vibration of mental refinement and spiritual understanding. It's a card often caught between the realm of intellect and intuition, seeking clarity while dancing with doubt. The soul is not content with shallow truth. The soul is not content with shallow truth. They are wired to question, analyze, and elevate ideas until they align with something timeless and true. That's always the task of the seven. Analyzing, questioning, elevating until they align with something timeless and true. We're entering the architecture of a mind shaped by contrast and committed to spiritual discernment. And in this case, there is no spiritual connection, not one that is visible, outwardly visible. Inwardly, perhaps. Outwardly, certainly not. So here, already mentioned the Five of Diamonds in Mercury. We'll jump into that. A restless searcher when it comes to values and priorities. A restless searcher. Restless search. Values, priorities. What is important? What should be done first? And what is valuable and what is not? There's a hunger to understand not just what matters, but why it matters. Mercury here creates an internal dialogue that constantly questions the old and reaches for the new. It's a pattern of thinking that rarely settles, preferring exploration over certainty, which is both a gift and a challenge when clarity is the goal. That constant quest, searching for values in the mind, for certainty, is almost not fulfilled due to the very nature of the 5. Because, yes, they search, but the clarity is only there for a short time. Then they embark on another quest and another search. So they don't really settle. And again, in Mercury, you don't really want to have a 5 energy. It's brilliant because it goes all over the place. But it's also not brilliant when it confuses you. And when we come to the Venus and the Mars cards, you'll see what that means. Talking of Venus, we exit the Saturn line and we enter the Uranus line. And here in Venus, we have a Queen of Spades. That's a very fixed card. It's the second highest card in the last suit. And it's the second highest card in the entire deck. So here we have a card of mastery, grace, resilience, self-mastery. That's the theme, or the headline in a way, for the Queen of Spades. A silent strength through how they approach relationships. They value maturity, inner discipline, and beauty that runs deep, but also means that they may hold their emotions behind a veil, expressing care through actions rather than words. And that is true. I mean, from what I know from that 7 of Clubs brother, that's very true. Care through actions rather than words. In love, they are not interested in half measures. Only those who've earned their own crown will resonate here. And that's difficult, especially if you're the brother of one of those, who've earned their own crown. Try to earn your own crown in the eyes of a 7 of Clubs. Tricky here, and it's like a family relationship. I mean, in the rare case that may be the case with you, you may relate. The card of self-mastery. So mastery also in terms of emotions. Master your emotions, because with that 5 of Clubs and 5 of Diamonds in Mercury and the upcoming Jack of Clubs in Mars, that is a very potent combination. And if that's not tempered and moderated through that Queen of Spades in Venus, then the communication may be rather harsh, abrupt, and very detrimental. It's a card that shows through actions, not words. Words are the domain of the Queen of Spades. But they have to obtain mastery here, the 7 of Clubs, mastery in the realm of relationships. Intimate relationships and relationships with family members and with other friends and relatives too. That brings us to the already alluded to Mars card. And here we find the Jack of Clubs. Jack of Clubs is a genius card. Now combine this with a strong, forceful, determined energy of Mars, the warring energy of Mars. And now put this into contact with someone who is right next to it, who has that genius card in Venus, and there's a genius card in Mars. That can lead to rather interesting discussions. Venus and Mars. And on the 7 of Clubs side, there's much more aggressive energy because it's Mars on the Jack of Clubs. So if the 7 of Clubs doesn't know that, they may have very, very rough kind of communication because they want to be right. There's a genius card and they assert that. And with that Queen of Spades in Venus, they don't really want to step back. They don't really want to step down because, I know it. I have technically spiritual knowledge. But if that's not handled properly, that can lead to isolation. And then you're not only misunderstood, you don't really communicate because people don't want to communicate with you because of that. Once again, that's the low side. On the high side, that genius card in Mars can lead to really extraordinary ideas and extraordinary communication because it comes with a spiritual insight, 7 of Clubs, Jack of Clubs, the seeking mind of the 5 of Diamonds, the self-mastery of the Queen of Spades in Venus, and then combine that with that genius mental creativity of the Jack of Clubs in Mars. So you see, there is no good or bad. There's just a life path that opens up before you, and where you can decide to take the high road, or you can decide to take the low road, or any combination and amalgamation of those two in between. But here, constant reminder, we are not outside of a system that lives purely by it being described or having gotten a description through our observation. What we are doing here is nothing but applying a science, observing that science, confirming that science, and utilizing that science to gain an understanding of our science, of our rhythm, of the qualities that determine an individual. This is what we're doing here. And the end result should always be harmony, understanding, more love, more attraction, and because of love and attraction, more growth. Enough for everybody, abundance for everybody. Mars expresses itself playfully and cleverly through the Jack of Clubs. This card brings quick wit, creative fire, and sometimes a mischievous spark in moments of tension. Arguments or challenges are often met with humor or strategic persuasion, if kept on the high side. But beneath that charm lies a deeper drive to innovate, to provoke thought, and to break free from outdated ideas. The warrior here wears a jester's mask, but wields the mind like a sword. And again, if not observed carefully, that Jack of Clubs in Mars can contribute greatly to the detriment of the Seven of Clubs. Because we have here a very creative, youthful, playful influence, but if in combination with Mars, that can become very potent, and that needs to be handled with great care. Five of Diamonds, uneven card, odd card. Queen of Spades, odd card. Jack of Clubs, even card. Nine of Diamonds, odd card. Jupiter expands, grows, whatever it touches. We've learned that much, and here it's being touched by the Nine of Diamonds. And the Nine of Diamonds is the card of universal values. It's, the last single-digit card before we come to the manifestation on the level of the 10 of Diamonds. But here, the Nine of Diamonds teaches the Seven of Clubs that abundance is not just about accumulation, but about release. Nines need to learn to release. Be generous. Don't hoard. Let go of things that have served their purpose. You don't need to accumulate everything. And it's the perfect example here, as my brother once again, he said, haben ist besser als brauchen. To have is better than to require, or having the need for something. So he has it because he can, but not because he needs it. But that leads to hoarding things, to things just sort of accumulating everywhere. And then sort of as you get older, you don't really have the stamina or the desire and the drive to declutter your life. So here we've got a constant reminder for that Nine of Diamonds. Growth often comes through sacrifice, through realizing what no longer fits and blessing it as it exits. Growth comes if you don't let these things exit, there is no growth within you. You stay stuck, and you stay stuck in that rut. And remember, Seven of Clubs is also the card of negative thinking. So your thought patterns can become rather negative towards other people, towards things in general. And then sort of you get accused of that because of their projection. Blessing it as it exits. That served its purpose, now it can go. Make space for new things. That is generates constant renewal. And remember, Seven of Clubs, that's the connection to spirit. The spirit is the finer realms of life, the invisible, the unintangible, the ideas, the visions, the dreams, the expectations, the desires. the anticipation of something, that is in constant flux. That keeps coming, that keeps coming. But if you're stuck there, and if you accumulated, you like hoarded and boarded up your life, the resulting life quality is pretty obvious, I would say. Their blessings multiply when they share, surrender, and serve a bigger purpose, and they often do, consciously or not. And when they don't, exactly. Thank you very much. After a 9 card, remember, 7s and 9s are tricky cards for human beings, because 7s are about losses. Losses incurred because of their failed connection to spirit, because of their failed inward movement to gain insight and wisdom within. And now you've got a 9 in Jupiter, and then you've got another 7 in Saturn, 7 of spades, being a black 7 and having a black 7 in Saturn. Everything I just said is now being confirmed in a way through that 7 of spades in Saturn. They should connect to spirit, because the 7 of clubs is one level, the 7 of spades is yet another level, and that in Saturn. Saturn loves even numbers, even cards, especially 4s, 8s, and 10s. But here we have another card that calls upon the 7 of clubs to go within and to have faith, and have faith in the spiritual realm. Remember, 9 of diamonds, Jupiter, expansion through values, but through the release of values. And the release of values, almost like, I can't really put this into words, but there's if you release values, then there's almost like a spiritual element following suit, filling that gap, new insights, sort of new experience. And okay, I've let go of this. This is now out of my life. Okay, what comes next? What new insight have I acquired by letting things go? That's a positive 7 of spades in Saturn. And that's a positive side or effect of that, or outcome rather, of that 9 of diamonds in Jupiter. But if you don't have faith, if you don't create the connection to the spiritual world, and the spiritual world is not like entities. I'm not talking about spiritual entities that we can conjure up in our mind. Yes, we are mostly entitled, perfectly entitled to do that. But I'm talking about the unseen, the invisible, the things that the dreams, the ideals, the things that the first things that come up when we engage our mind, pictures, constructs. And keep that in our mind and act on it until they become reality. But first it starts on the mental realm. And that is particularly true here for the 7 of clubs with the 7 of spades and Saturn. And keep it positive. Have faith. Saturn here, once again, 7 spades, Saturn. Health issues. Saturn here delivers a deep karmic refinement process. The 7 of spades brings trials related to health, discipline, or integrity. Tests that are not punishments, but initiations. Not all 7 of clubs, but they have to pay attention to. Saturn is health, spades is health, 7 is health. Like a triple whammy here. This placement demands honesty, inward correction, and spiritual hygiene. Not easy, but it sculpts a backbone of integrity, so when this soul speaks, it carries weight. Saturn's pressure purifies them from the inside out. Long explanation that. We arrive at Uranus. Here we find an even card. We find the 2 of clubs. So also makes perfect sense. Uranus, change, unsettling. 2 of clubs is quite a mentally strong card because it has a king of clubs in Mercury. So we have flashes of genius, which is also a little bit of Uranus energy through conversation, 2 of clubs, collaboration, 2 of clubs, and shared thinking, 2 of clubs. It points to unusual partnerships, unconventional learning environments, and surprising synchronicities around communication. They desire a union in communication, but they almost, if they play the low side, they almost stand in their own way in order to accomplish that because of their fixed mental attitudes. I sometimes have the not the idea, but think that sort of he's actually an 8 of clubs, not a 7 of clubs. Very strong mental influence here, seeking the communication, but the communication needs compromise. If you communicate, you need to listen. That's what was said in the introduction. They need to be able to listen and not just to say, oh, boom, boom, boom. 5 of diamonds in a Mercury makes for a restless mind. So they can talk a lot. And then, beware of, as they call it, beware of behold. Behold, someone gives them, opposition. As I said, my Jack of Clubs in Venus, his Jack of Clubs in Mars. Boom. It's a signature for sudden breakthroughs when a casual chat reveals a life truth, but it also asks them to evolve their understanding of mental intimacy, learning when to listen, not just speak. Wow, beautifully. Just said it exactly that. Just sort of listen, and not just listen in order to formulate the next response, but in order to absorb it, to understand the other person. Mental intimacy, come closer to that person, have a desire, be interested in what the other person thinks, what the other person says, what the other person feels, what makes up the other person, and not just sort of your own very narrow, even though educated worldview. That brings us to the last card. Here we find in Neptune another strong clubs card, the King of Clubs. So 7 of Clubs, 2 of Clubs, King of Clubs. Mystical wisdom brings a kind of knowing that can't be taught, only remembered. It's true, sort of, in a way, there is a connection to spirit. There's a connection to the far greater realm of Neptune. Under the king, they should be able to sort of fluently merge into that realm. But that is probably one of the biggest lessons, because that King of Clubs is related to the 7 of Clubs and it's related to the 7 of spades, Saturn and their birth card. Because the King of Clubs needs to go, first you go within in order to develop power. First the 7, then the 8, and whatever follows. The release of the 9, the power of the 8, the release of the 9, the manifestation of the 10, and then entering the higher level of consciousness on the communication side with the Jack of Clubs, which they have, which I forgot to mention, and then the 2 of Clubs and the King of Clubs. So we see a very strong mental and intellectual powerhouse that we've got here. But that can be too limited and restricted if they forget about their connection to spirit. And that means balance at the end of the day. That means wholeness. So they can become brilliant with that Jack of Clubs in Mars. They can become brilliant, but that can also turn against them if they think that they have basically been served the truth on a silver platter. And if that makes them too hard and fenced in and caught in a way in their own opinions, in their own knowledge, in their own understanding, because they've forgotten to connect to the outer world. Neptune here adds a layer of intuitive understanding to their thinking, making them natural guides or quiet leaders when acted out in the positive, on the high side. When they trust this inner compass, they become powerful storytellers, visionaries, or spiritual teachers. Well, yeah, far from it. Not a powerful storyteller, not a visionary, not a spiritual teacher. But if self-doubt creeps in, they may second-guess what has always been true within. Interesting. I mean, I don't know. Are you a 7 of Clubs? Do you know of a 7 of Clubs? Does that resonate? I find that connection, obviously, to my brother, where I see this, the potential, the immense potential that they have, but almost because of a shortcoming in communication and because of that fencing in there, creating their own mental garden, the inability to listen to others, to understand others, and then sort of to connect their communication to what the other person has been saying. That makes it very difficult for them to have a meaningful and a deep conversation that they really would like to, with that Two of Clubs in Uranus and that King of Clubs in Neptune. Pluto deals them after the Jack of Clubs another Jack, and here we find the Jack of Diamonds. Pluto, death, transformation. Endings. Powerful urge to redefine value systems. That is what they are being tasked with their entire life. Redefinition of their value systems, a deep transformation that occurs around money, self-worth, and youthful ambition. Remember, the Nine of Diamonds in Jupiter is about financial frustrations and disappointments and losses. Sevens are about losses, nines are about frustrations and disappointments. So there could be a number of financial losses in life. This card breaks illusions of success, and remakes them with soul. If it asks this person to mature not financially but morally. Learning what true worth is, not what they own, have hoarded and accumulated, but how they evolve through challenge and change. That's a big one. Powerful urge to redefine their value systems. Jack of Clubs is a salesman, but it's got that youthful, creative energy. So the transformation comes through, in a way, taking responsibility for your value system. Remember, Five of Diamonds, Mercury card. Not exactly a stable mind. It can be a fixed mind, but it can be fixed in its instability. If that makes sense to you as much as it makes to me. And here the Jack of Diamonds says, explore, learn, improve things, because the Jacks are about improving things, changing and improving things. And that's the lifelong theme here for the Seven of Clubs. That may be a mentally restless card on the outside, but beneath that surface lies a deep spiritual undercurrent. Potentially, not necessarily in its acting out, in its outward manifestation. That could be underneath, it's there as potential, but the Seven of Clubs is reminded to bring that spiritual undercurrent to the fore. The planetary spread reveals a path of transformation through the mind, guided by inner integrity, Queen of Spades and Venus, a desire for real truth. It's a lifetime of refining belief, sharpening discernment, and ultimately becoming a quiet force of wisdom in a world full of noise. This is a thinker's journey, but also a mystic's mission. I love those sentences. A thinker's journey, but also a mystic's mission. It's their mission. And very few people understand themselves well enough, and very few Seven of Clubs understand themselves well enough in order to really embark on that mystic's mission. The mission to see what they bring to the table, what they bring into this life, and the challenges connected to that. And then to work through those challenges, to understand where they are limited, and to tap, or in order to tap into the tremendous mental potential they have. They are a clubs card. They are seeking for values. They have like a quiet mastery in their relationships on the positive side. They have a brilliant mind that they portray very forcefully with that Jack of Clubs in Mars. Under Jupiter, they change and they grow from letting things go, because the mind usually accumulates. And they need to let go, and they need to establish a strong value system, and then sort of just be generous with it. Then the Two of Clubs in Uranus and the King of Clubs in Neptune. Two strong, very strong cards on the mental side. And in fact, if we look at the entire lifespan, we find 2 diamonds, 3 diamonds, 5 of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, Jack of diamonds in Pluto. 9 of diamonds in Jupiter, 5 of diamonds in Mercury. We have that Queen of Spades in Venus, but then we've got another Spades card, the 7 of Spades in Saturn, and then we've got another 2 clubs cards. So 7 of clubs, birth card, Jack of clubs, 2 of clubs, King of clubs. So that here we find a combination of a strong mental and a strong value-based person, where everything is being thought about and where everything is evaluated. The hearts side is lacking, and that is denoted by the 9 of Hearts moon card. Again, on the emotional side, it could be quite disappointing and frustrating at times, and they have to make an extra effort to connect to that side. That's it for the 7 of clubs. We are on, once again, over 30 minutes. And yeah, if you enjoy this, once again, you know, reward me by leaving a like and a subscription, and feel free to click on that bell, and certainly feel free to share it with other people. We've got a number of birthdays for the 7 of clubs. I'm going backwards from the 21st of July, because that's my brother's birthday. Then we go to the 23rd of June to the 25th of May. We go to the 27th of April to the 29th of March. And there is no 31st of February. So there's none in February. And then we go to the 19th of August, the 17th of September, the 15th of October, the 13th of November, and the 11th of December. Halfway through the club suit. Hope you liked it. And I'll see you then with the next fixed card here with the 8 of clubs in one of the next videos coming up on this channel. Helmar Rudolph once again remains with peace and blessings. Thanks you for your attention and for your willingness to learn and willingness to gather and absorb and integrate deep wisdom here through the system of Cardology. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.